Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Warriors receive Steph Curry injury update after pelvic contusion. The Golden State Warriors have missed their superstar Steph Curry to start a 6-game road trip. He suffered a pelvic contusion after a hard fall during a home win over the Toronto Raptors Thursday. Curry then underwent an MRI, which confirmed the contusion, without any structural damage. ESPN NBA insider Shams Charania initially reported Curry would miss some time, likely the start of Golden State's stint on the road. Curry missed the Warriors' first road game, a loss in Atlanta to the Hawks, but his potential return may be sooner rather than later. According to Charania, Curry is traveling to join the Warriors in Miami ahead of their next game against the Heat. His availability depends on response to treatment before the game. Whether or not Curry is ready to go for Tuesday's game in Miami, a return feels imminent. The game marks Jimmy Butler's return to Miami after Golden State dealt for him at the trade deadline following an ugly fallout with the Heat. Since the Butler deal, the Warriors have been on a tear, including a 7-game win streak which was snapped March 17 against the Denver Nuggets. They sit at 41-30, hoping to secure one of the Western Conference's top 6 seeds to avoid the play-in. If Curry isn't able to play Tuesday, he will have a few more days to heal, as the Warriors' next game on the road trip isn't until Friday against the New Orleans Pelicans. Stephen Curry, set to join Warriors' road trip, could return for Miami Heat game. Stephen Curry's injury woes may be behind him. Shams Charania of ESPN is reporting that Curry will rejoin the Golden State Warriors' East road trip ahead of their game against the Miami Heat, where he will be re-evaluated. Curry suffered a pelvic contusion in the game against the Toronto Raptors last Thursday, which ruled him out indefinitely. Should he be cleared, Curry will likely play against the Heat. Even though it hasn't been a long absence, the Warriors will welcome Curry's return, as their road trip hasn't gotten off to the best start. The Warriors lost the first game of their road trip to the Atlanta Hawks 124-115, thus derailing a lot of the strong momentum they had built up after the All-Star break. Curry had really been putting in the work for the Warriors, and the injury may have been a blessing in disguise, as the fatigue was starting to show. Even Steve Kerr admitted that Curry was exhausted after carrying the team for so much of their winning stretch in recent weeks. Since the All-Star break, Curry has been playing excellent basketball, averaging 26.5 points, 5.9 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 0.3 blocks per game while shooting 49% from the field, 41.1% from beyond the arc, and 93.8% from the free throw line. Warriors fans will hope that his numbers only improve once they reach the postseason. A return against the Heat will allow the Warriors to resume their push ahead of the final stretch of the NBA season going into the playoffs. The Warriors currently sit 6th in the Western Conference with a 41-30 record. They want to fend off teams below them like the Clippers and Timberwolves, who are breathing down their neck to secure a guaranteed playoff spot. The Warriors have an abysmal record in the play-in tournament, having never secured a playoff spot since the format was introduced in 2021. Golden State is currently 0-3 in the tournament, not winning a single game despite being in it twice. Earning a guaranteed playoff spot will give them some breathing room, as they would likely not want to tempt fate by having to go through the play-in tournament again. The arrival of Jimmy Butler has done wonders for Curry and the Warriors. Prior to the trade, the Warriors had a 26-25 record and looked to be one of the most disappointing teams in the Western Conference. However, ever since the Butler trade, the Warriors have gone 16-5 and been one of the best teams in the NBA during this stretch. With a reinvigorated and motivated Butler now serving as the second option behind Curry, there is a lot of optimism surrounding what this team can do in the playoffs. Given Jimmy's history in the playoffs, the hope is that he elevates his game and the Warriors as a whole to a deep run in the West. Despite being the 6th seed, the Warriors are one of the most formidable teams in the NBA, primarily due to their experience with their star duo. Kevin Durant reveals why he nixed trade from Suns to Warriors. It just doesn't make sense for either side. 9 different All-Stars changed teams during the period leading up to the 2025 NBA trade deadline, and a player that has accomplished more than them all nearly became the 10th. In their widely reported pursuit of Jimmy Butler, the Phoenix Suns eventually realized that there was a workable way to include Bradley Beal as the matching salary. Therefore, they pursued a possible 3-team deal in which they would acquire Butler and Kevin Durant would head out of Phoenix to return to the Golden State Warriors. The problem? Durant did not want to go back to the Warriors, where he won the championship in 2017 and 2018. The deal fell apart from there, and the Warriors moved on to land Butler themselves. Durant's former teammate, Draymond Green, had Durant on his podcast to talk about the situation. When asked directly if he hopes to finish his career in Phoenix, Durant responded, "I want my career to end on my terms. That's the only thing." Reports have suggested that Phoenix did not keep Durant updated on the talks, and that he was not happy about that. As far as the Warriors specifically, Durant indicated that he simply did not want to change teams during the season. "As far as the Warriors, I didn't want to move, and then, as a player like me, I cost a lot. Me going into your team in the middle of the season, it's going to be a big blow to any team I'm going to," Durant said. "I get why you want to trade me, simple fact, that's just business. But for me looking at it, it just doesn't make sense for either side to go through that when we could just play the season out, and if that's the decision you want to make in the offseason, then you figure it out." Durant said he wants to see it through when it comes to his time with the Suns, including the remainder of this season. You know, when you commit to something in the season like that, nobody's like, big injuries, like everybody's in the lineup. "I'm trying to see this through to the end and see what we can really do with it," Durant said. "And I feel like I'm committed to my coaches and teammates, and I want to see it through. I wanted to lock in on that." The widespread expectation is that the Suns will indeed trade Durant over the summer. They're gonna trade him, and he knows that, ESPN's Brian Windhorst said on Wednesday. Even without substantial reporting, common sense suggests that a move is warranted. The Suns are 27-31 and in line to hand the Houston Rockets a lottery pick in June. They have limited financial flexibility and have spent the majority of their draft capital on failed attempts to improve. The Suns badly need a reset of some sort. Trading the aging Durant to a team more capable of winning right now is the simplest way to do that. By waiting for the offseason, Durant loses a chance to genuinely compete for the championship this season. He does, however, give his new team a bit more flexibility in addressing the cost associated with acquiring him. As the Lakers have learned since their explosive trade deadline, reshaping an entire roster in February is difficult, but it's often needed after acquiring a megastar. An off-season trade would give his new team more room to build around him. It would also give him a bit more control of a potential destination. This summer, Durant will be only one season away from unrestricted free agency. Few teams are going to be comfortable trading significant assets for Durant without some assurance that he wants to stay there and perhaps retire with them. If he wants to end his career on his own terms, he might have the power to do so over the summer. And you, fan? What do you think about Kevin Durant's situation? Write to us in the comments.